I want to create what I call an emoticon dashboard where you are able to ask how are you feeling, and you are able to pick between the options happy, sad and angry, and for whatever option you pick, the corresponding emoticon pops up. The first thing I'm going to show you here is I'm going to bring in the images for those three emotions, happy, sad and angry, and I'm going to use the emoticon keyboard. I go to insert, I click symbol. I'm going to set up the first one, which is happy. I just double click it. I go to the next line, go to the symbols, go to the for the sad. I double click it so it gets into my cell, and then I go to the third row, and then I go to the third row, I click symbol and I select the angry emoticon. So I have created those three icons here, and what I'm going to do here is, because this is going to be a dashboard and these images need to be bigger than this, I'm just going to expand the height of the rows and expand the width of the column, and I'm going to increase their sizes, the font sizes. I control the size from font size. I'm just going to go straight to 48, maybe 72, and I will center align them vertically and horizontally. There, my images are set up. I'm now going to go ahead and create named ranges, 3 named ranges, one for happy, one for sad and one for angry. And how I'm going to do that is to step into the cell in which the icons are and name them, give them a corresponding name for the emoticon they are holding. So I'm going to step into the one that has the happy icon and I'm going to name it happy. Just as simple as that. It's a very simple demonstration, so I'm making this as simple as possible. I'm going to name this sad, and then this one I'm going to name angry. The next thing I'm going to do is to set up the dashboard frame itself, and I'm going to hide the grid lines. I want to dedicate this area of the sheets from D to U to cover dashboard. So I've selected that area, and I'm just going to wrap it around with an outside border so that I know the extent my frame fits into. And I'm going to start by creating a simple question. How are you feeling today? I will merge this, right align it, take the font down, make it as big as possible. This is going to be the only text on the dashboard, so I might as well make it as big as possible. And then I'm going to create a drop down to enable me to select and toggle between the happy, sad and angry options. So for this, I'm going to use data validation to create this drop down. Of course, in Excel, there are different ways of creating drop down options. You can use data validation, you can use combo boxes. Just in the interest of time and to make this as simple as possible, I'm going to use data validation. So I pick the data validation icon, I select list, and I just type it in. Not a fan, I don't advocate hard coding, but again, this is supposed to be a very quick and simple demonstration. So I have created the data validation here, and the next thing I'm going to do is just to give it a border, because we don't have any grid lines here, so that we know exactly where to go. So I'm doing a lot, but just for this simple demonstration, but I just want this to look as visually as appealing as possible. So the next step is to create a linked picture and link the picture to the named ranges we've created using the indirect function. Let me demonstrate that quickly. In creating a linked image, all you need to do is select, I can click on any one of them, but I will just click on this one. Just select one of the images. You can select really any cell, even a blank cell, but you need the cells to be the same height and width of the cells of the images that you want to bring in. If not, when it's bringing it in, it's going to distort them. It might stretch them or compress them in a way that you don't want them to. So I'm going to use the happy cell, even though you can really use a blank cell for this. I'm creating a linked image. All I'm going to do is to copy it and then paste as linked picture. My linked picture is here. Because it's the only thing in the dashboard, I'm going to stretch it out as much as possible so it fills up the space. Yeah. How we want this to work is when we click this, we want it to change to happy, sad, angry. This drop down, the cell on which I'm selecting the drop down, which is cell R3, I'm going to give it a name for easy referencing. So I'm going to call this selected feeling. And the next thing is to create a dynamic range for cell filling and link this link picture to that dynamic range. And recall that whatever options you create in this dropdown must correspond to the named ranges. The named ranges are happy, sad, angry, and then the drop-down options are happy, sad, angry. These named ranges must correspond to the drop-down options because the indirect function is going to take this content, what is in this selected feeling cell, and is going to convert it to an object. So the next thing we're going to do now is create a dynamic range. And to do that, I'm going to go to formulas and I'm going to go to define name. I'm going to create a new name. I will call this new name chosen feeling. Now I'm just making names up. And this is a dynamic range, so it's going to be indirect, selected, feeling. So what's happening here is that indirect has taken the content of selected feeling, which is that cell that we use to select either happy, sad, or angry, and it's converted into the corresponding name range, which, as you recall, we created 3 named range called happy, sad, and angry. So it returns the content in those named ranges when selected feeling is changed. And then the very last step is to step into the linked picture and then link the picture to the dynamic range I just created, which is chosen feeling. You notice that the picture is updated, and if I go in to select a different one, it changes. Select another one, it changes. With this, I've demonstrated how indirect named ranges and linked pictures coming together to create interactive pictures in Excel. 2 things that are important for you to note for this to work is the names on the drop down, that is this list, drop down list, must correspond like for like with the named ranges you set up. If they don't correspond, this is not going to work. The other thing to highlight is if you're trying to name the linked picture by linking it to the dynamic range, when there is nothing in selected feeling, it's not going to work. It's just going to give you an error message, reference is not valid. So you have to ensure that there's something in there before you create that link. So with that, I've demonstrated how linked pictures, named ranges, and the indirect function comes together to create interactive image dashboard in Excel.